Hi there, I'm Allie Elliott. Hi there, I'm Allie Elliott, and welcome to my first stream. I am a veteran of the photography business for 14 years. I have undergraduate degrees in fine arts and in marketing. I have a master's degree in photography through PPA, and I'm also CPP. If you are here through NAPCP, I have all five certifications, master certifications for them, and I'm soon to be a craftsman as well through PPA. I'm very thrilled to say that I am a two-time, as of this year, a two-time GIA finalist. So that is really exciting, and that's one of the images that you can see right now is one of the top 10. This channel is going to be a little bit of everything business related. It's going to be photography and other small businesses and everything that you need to know. It's going to be marketing because without marketing, your business is probably just a hobby. All things photography, everything from posing, lighting, planning, storytelling, through the final production, through editing, coloring, everything that you can think of. It's mostly going to be fun, and it's going to be a way to make business fun. um, we will go through today. This is just kind of an introduction, but we're going to go through some of the images that I've had a lot of success with. And now and in the future, we're going to go through what works for them and what I could have done better, what I could have done differently. Even the ones with tremendous success have things that could be improved on, things that I might have missed. And a lot of my past images I look back at now and see tons of things that I could have improved on. So, as I mentioned, this one up on the board is Her Wings Unfold, and it is a Grand Imaging Award finalist for the year 2022. This was in the senior category, so it's in the Image Excellence Collection, which was formerly known as the Loan Collection for Professional Photographers of America. This image was shot in my tiny little studio I've been in for 10 years, and it has served me beautifully. And I love that little place mostly for its location. It has served me very well. But by looking at this image, you would not know that it was a tiny little single light and some compositing. And I actually learned compositing on film. So we can go through that process, very much the same process. It's just a lot quicker now with Photoshop. So this beautiful image and this beautiful girl is a finalist for GIAs in the senior category. And in a different video, we will go through the straight off the camera, the SOOC, and all the way through the finished product. This year, I took a different approach that turned out to really work well for me. Is I entered a lot of the state competitions simply to get the judges' feedback, simply to get another set of eyes on it, on each of my images, and really hone each image to its greatest potential. So this was one of them. This was one of the first images that I had a lot of success with in the Master Artist category. If you're not familiar with PPA's categories, there's everything from reportage, which is very raw, unretouched, no Photoshop, no other than basic finishing. I don't know. I don't enter that one because I love this part of the process too. I love the entire process all the way through the finishing. And I love to take something from around the house and make it part of my storytelling in these images. This is Numbered Days. And this is the image that really, truly showed me that I really wanted storytelling to be a huge part of my work and my professional career. So I have had a whole lot of Oh, I see I'm a little quiet. That's the first time I've heard that. I'll turn my mic up here. Hopefully that'll help. Anyway, this image is the first time that I took a heavily composited image and entered it. This was my second year of entering Master Artist category. Master Artist is you're being judged not only on the final final project, but you are also being judged on what you took to get it there. So this is more the post-processing, heavy storytelling, those elements combining to make your final image. And that's separate from photographic open, which is primarily judged on the shooting of the image, the lighting straight out of the camera, and elements that are controlled in the shooting process. This is more the post-processing. And I want to do a separate video completely on this because this is Roger in my Numbered Days image, and he's on tour right now through the American Society of Photographers, ASP, which I'm also a member of. And he is a part of the Maker's Muse exhibition, which is in the Museum Project, and it's touring through museums right now, which is really, really exciting. And hopefully you have one close to you and you can go see Roger in person. His participation in this was tremendous, and I hope that I can do his story justice, but his story will have to wait for another day because I've got a lot of images that I want to go through and just kind of give you a feel for who I am. The demographic that I'm looking for, I know that you are likely professional photographers looking to be professional, artists in general, and a lot of that demographic isn't on Twitch yet. So I appreciate you being here, and I'm excited about this, and I want to make it really easy for you. An account on Twitch is free, and it's quick and easy to set up. You'll get it set up right away, and that's going to allow you to chat with me and interact with me. And you can ask me questions, you can offer feedback, just like that's my son on there telling me that I'm a little bit quiet. Just to kind of get some back and forth. I have been, for the last 4 or 5 years, I've been touring the country doing some speaking opportunities to discuss these same topics. And this is something that you can have right in your own home and connect with me on a daily or weekly basis to answer your questions. It's free to follow. It's not free to subscribe. However, if you have an Amazon Prime account, you get 1 free subscription. And that's just going to take out the ads so that you don't have to worry about those. So I will live stream here and then record these streams, making sure I'm recording. I'm going to record these and upload them to YouTube right afterwards. So you won't get that feedback, but if you miss a recording, then you can see it on there. YouTube is free to subscribe, so be sure to subscribe to me on there and just search my name and you should be able to find me. I'll also post links on Instagram and Facebook when there's a new video, but subscribing will alert you and get notifications to when I've posted something new, and anytime I live stream, I'm going to go ahead and bump that over to YouTube as well. So you can let me know here in the chat, or you can let me know in the comments of YouTube what you'd like to see, what content you're most interested in. Is it business? Is it marketing? Small business marketing is my specialty and one of my passions, and I want to see your business succeed, and marketing is a tremendous huge. So I would love to hear what you're looking for. If you're looking for competition feedback, I can give you my best. And if you're looking for business, I can give you my best. That's all I can do. So I want to hear every day this week for the next couple of weeks, kind of while I'm gaining some traction. Not on Christmas, obviously. None of us should be here, I hope. But in the meantime, ask me the questions you've got, and we'll keep going through this. I'm going to do a separate video for Roger here for Numbered Days because it was a real turning point, I feel, for myself in my career. These are some of, I'm a certified professional photographer. That is through Professional Photographers of America. You're tested through images and through a good old-fashioned paper quiz to earn that certification, just like in any other career. You want to go to somebody that knows what they're doing in every aspect of that industry. And this designation provides that comfort for my clients and for me to know that I have that seal of approval from the oldest industry organization that there is. This is, let's see, what year was this? 2019. So this was one image, two separate competitions. It received a bronze from the Portrait Masters competition. I am an affiliate photographer for the Portrait Masters, and it was also part of the merit collection for the IPC, the International Photographic Competition. And that was in 2019. And this image came a long way from my initial completed image. And there's kind of a joke within the industry that we all have these files on our computer that are final, and then final, and then final two. So this is the final. And it went through a huge change. And these little beauties are, they've helped me out with competition images several times. And I will get into their story a little bit when I go through some of my older images that I feel like I could have done differently. If I'd known then what I know now, they probably would have had more success. But that is all part of the game, and I'm glad that they were part of my journey. So we'll keep going from here. That is the official seal of Portrait Masters Associate. And that is something that I actually didn't enter those competitions this year. I was just a little bit busy with my day-to-day work, and I put all my eggs in the PPA competition basket, and it worked out. So I'm not sorry, but I will definitely get back into that next year. But for the time being, I am still an associate photographer. These are my 6 babies, the only image that I have of all 6 of them together. And this image is an example of one that performed poorly in competition, but is incredibly dear to my heart for obvious reasons, hopefully obvious reasons. And it also spurred an exhibition that became a tremendous focus of my career and of my almost 5 years to make this happen. And that entire exhibition will definitely get its own video. There are several videos already up for the Here I exhibition on my YouTube channel. Each image has its own video to go into the stories of the bereaved siblings and the brothers and sisters that they're missing. But these are my own babies, and they've grown up tremendously since this was taken. But this was an image that my heart was after for a long time, and I always have to share that with whoever I'm speaking to. This is just a different seal for Portrait Masters. This was one of my initial merited images, and a merit is, so that is just indicative that it's earned a merit at the International Photographic Competition. And I also, for the past several years, have entered the district competition where an image can seal. So this was one of my first sealed images. This was titled Whisper Your Wishes, and this was before I knew to download the seal on the corner that PPA gives you. So you'll just have to imagine it over there, because this was a while ago. I want to say this was 2017. Again, with the Portrait Masters, this is all the same thing. Unity competition was actually for NAPCP or NAPCP, which is the National Association of Professional Child Photographers. And I wanted to balance those two organizations. PPA was a huge part of my business, but mostly of the success of my business. And it gave me some milestones that I could strive towards to continue getting better in my craft, and to also get business advice and feedback from professionals who've been where I was and where I strive to be. PPA is a little daunting when you're brand new because everything is so clean and polished and it's technically perfect. And when I was starting out, I wanted to be an artist and I wanted emotion to trump technical perfection. And so NAPCP offered that emotional balance for me. I felt like if I could conquer the emotion and the technical and combine them and perform well in both types of competition, that's exactly what I was looking for. So both have served me well for their own purposes. And this was the most recent image competition that I entered with NAPCP. I didn't enter any this year. And I don't actually think I did last year, but this was the last one I think that I entered, and I was a top 100 featured artist, and it went on to, you know what, this was 2020. I take that back because it was the Unity competition, and I couldn't tell you right now what image it was, but it did all right. And I did not enter the second half competition. Second half of the year this year was a little bit crazy, so I stepped back from Portrait Masters. I stepped back from NAPCP, and I focused on PPA and growing my business because I got to pay the bills too. There is my little studio, and this is the studio that I'm coming up on 10 years that I've been here. I've been in business 14 years. I specialize in family, baby portrait work. I do not do events anymore, not since 2016, but it all comes from this little hub. Taking this space up on my little town square was an absolute game changer for my business, and I love that studio so much. And it's this tiny little room that is just perfect for my needs. I've been there a long time, and I plan to be there a long time. So just wanted to share that with you. And then more Portrait Masters. There are a lot of these in here. This is not another peep out of you. This is one of my sons was very helpful with this merit image from several years ago. This was 2016 or 2017. No chicks were harmed. This is a composite image. This is when I really started getting into the limits that you could push past by compositing. And with the pose newborn phase that we all went through with the froggy pose, that was key. That was the only way that you could safely do those poses. And I would practice on things like this. So here we are. We've moved past that, I think, to a more natural newborn era. But in the meantime, we've got this lovely portrait of a chicken on his head. And for a while in competition, chickens were very in. So I felt like I had to be a part of the chicken fad. And then the beautiful babies. You just can't go wrong with the falling leaves. That was another big fad. I want to say this was 15 or 16, probably 16. That was a pretty heavy year. And I see a lot of things now that I go, what? That was very fad heavy. But it performed well, and it did what I needed it to do when I needed it to do it. So I'm very grateful for this image. I do not at all recall what I named it. I don't think you have to name them for that competition, but it did well. It came in second place in the newborn category. This was my NAPCP Master of Photographer Senior badge. There are probably going to be 4 more of those. This is my Master of Photography degree from PPA, and that was a hard fought for, hard won title that I'm very proud of. And I feel very lucky to be a part of that organization because of the high bar that they have set for these types of accolades. It is earned by every sense of the word. And there's newborn and maternity and family and child. I've been featured in Inspired Magazine, which is the NAPCP publication, several times. Most recently was a spread for my Here I series that I'm very proud of. It's a 4-page spread with all of the images in it and just a little blurb, and anything that I can do to get those babies' names said more, to tell their stories, and to keep their spirit alive, I'm going to do it. And I'm very pleased to have been featured in Inspire Magazine and also in Professional Photographer Magazine for the same purpose this year. So it was a huge year, and I really need to get those framed. They're sitting back there all together one of these days. business is slowing down right now. I was also in there in 2020. Um, that was just an image feature. I was in there in 2019 also. I don't actually remember what that was for. And these are some of the older accolades. Bronze with distinction is new this year. It's a new designation just based on where your scores fell. So some of the older ones, had this been a designation at the time, would have also been bronze with distinction. It's just kind of separating that sea of bronze award winners into kind of mini categories. Here is an outdated list of some of my accolades. NAPCP has had a couple of in-person gallery events that were really cool. I was never able to attend in person. And as far as I know, given the circumstances of the last couple of years, they've not been able to have it in person, but it was really cool to see the videos and to see your work in print as a part of that kind of a print competition. Even when I enter digitally, I always have them printed because it's so satisfying, number one, to just mark up a print and mark up all the things that you see. And number two, you see a lot of things that you wouldn't on your screen, no matter how bright you make it or dark you make it or how much you back up or get close. There's just something about printing it out and critiquing it and taking it as far as you can without that second set of eyes. And then you bring in your help. You bring in whoever can take a look at that and be honest with you in the best way. These are all of the accolades, exhibitions, memberships that I have, and they all serve my purposes in a different way. So I'm sure that these will pop up a lot. PPA is such a huge part of my business. It's going to pop up a lot. And I've also had tremendous opportunity to continue these speaking opportunities through PPA and through various guilds and affiliates, thanks to them, which has been phenomenal. This was a Portrait Masters Bronze in 2019, and this is an image that I did a tremendous amount of work on, and I just couldn't make it work for PPA. It got some great scores, some great reviews in the Portrait Masters competition, and just never quite connected with the judges for PPA. So I will go through that another time because I want you to see some of the misses too. And some of the things, like I took all the advice, I made all the changes, and it just wasn't working. So you have to know when to let it go too. And this is just one of those simple portraits. Sometimes we, as artists, as we get into this community, we tend to go really heavy on the compositing and on the work and on the post-processing, and sometimes it's just a simple pop of color and beautiful lighting and a beautiful subject that's all you need. And I think that I have a tendency to overthink it a little bit and go, what does it need? It needs more. I've got to add stuff to it. And that's not always the case. Sometimes less is more. And I'm not good with less is more. I'm good with more is more. But it's always good to have a good balance and just go back to the basics. And sometimes those simple images are the hardest to merit because you have to be able to pull back a little bit and to just take these elements, these few elements that you're working with, and perfect them. And this is one of them that had never entered this in PPA, but this for Portrait Masters had some good success. And because I had a lot of images that year, it just never made it to, it was the cutting room floor for PPA, but it performed very well in the images, in the image competitions that I did enter it in. This one is definitely going to get its own video. This is very dear to my heart and probably the single image that I worked on the longest. All in all, it was about 1.5 years doing something, fiddling with this image somehow. And I called in the experts on this one. And I'm gonna have to go back and count up all of the competitions that I entered this in at various stages. And I look back at the beginning and go, should have never entered that. It obviously wasn't ready, but I had hit a wall. I'd hit a ceiling that I could take it on my own. And then I called in some friends through PPA who have been here and have worked on these intricate images like this and could see what I couldn't see. I looked at it too long and couldn't see past really basic things. And their trained eye was able to help me with that. So I cannot wait to share this with you. This will be sometime this week. I will go through conversations with our ancestors. This is a Grand Imaging Award finalist for the 2022 Grand Imaging Awards through IPC, through PPA, through Professional Photographers of America. And I will not only go through the process of creating this image, but also some of the little Easter eggs tucked in there. This is my actual family. These are all members of my family from varying generations, and my children, my living children, with them. So most of them are sitting with their namesakes. And that is a family home that is no longer a part of our family, but it was very key for the time that it was, and for these generations in particular. And I wanted a way to connect my children with those generations that were so important to our family. So we'll obviously get more into that, and we'll get into some of the technicalities on how this was created and why I chose some of the things that I chose. So this is probably one of the most dear to my heart images, and I'm very excited to share that. The whole process, start to finish. That'll be a long one. Here's another one that went through a lot of changes. This is for the 2022 competition. This is a merit image, so it did not loan. It did not get into the image excellence category, but it did get into the showcase book. Showcase used to be when something wasn't quite strong enough to loan, but a judge loved it, they would book it. They would say book it, and they'd have their tokens. And that's the showcase book now. So those are a way of separating the merit images and the loan images, which are now imaging excellence. And these are kind of the middle images that they're special, they're impactful, but maybe there was a technicality, something that was holding them out of the imaging excellence category. This image was pieced together from found objects, and one of those found objects was my child, who showed up for me with the facial expressions. And the bird was actually outside the window of my mother when she was ill. So that was her little visiting cardinal, and I just snapped a picture with my cell phone, and I wanted to include it in one of my pieces for Master Artist. And the story evolved, the image evolved. It was entered in a lot of competitions, a lot of smaller state, local competitions, where the judges were high-level judges, and they could give me that feedback that I desired. And there's something so satisfying about seeing your images go through judging, even when they do poorly, because you win or you learn, and sometimes you do both. And this was one of those that I definitely did both on, and I was pleased with how it did, even though it wasn't, it's not up for a GIA, it's not a part of the Imaging Excellence Collection, but it did what I needed it to do, and I'm thrilled with that. Here is 7 Scoop Itch, another one of my kiddos starring in this role. And this was it kind of started off as a case filler. So one thing when I started entering these Master Artist competitions is I underestimated the time it would take. So I'm a pretty quick editor. I can whip a session up in half an hour, super easy. And the Master Artist extractions and details, and they are intense. And when you start backing up and looking at every single detail, you want them perfect because they have to be part of the story or they have to be taken out. And this was one of them that I thought I could throw this together kind of easily and this be a case filler. So you get 4 images in your case, and I'm never going to, if at all possible, I'm never going to say never, but I really don't want to not enter 4. So I will take something kind of simple if I'm running short on time, if I'm feeling pressure. Now I'm one of those people that if I'm not 20 minutes early somewhere, then I'm late and I panic. So I like getting things done, and I want to have every single pixel of my case polished before they even open up entries. And the entry window is usually like a month. So it's not like I'm cutting it close, but I want to have that stuff done. So this was a case filler. This was something that, we bought some ice cream and my husband dangled one of my kids upside down to get her hair to fly up, and just kind of pieced it together with a cute title and ran away with it a little bit, with a play on Marilyn Monroe's famous, air vent scene. And we had a lot of fun with this, and my kids were very much involved in this. And it was a shocker to me. It actually went into the loan collection, and I had no intention of this performing well. I was completely shocked. So something could be said, I think, for not overthinking it too. Tommy boy, and he just loves it to death, and that can happen with your images too. And I've certainly done that with images, but not this one. And I just happened to pull back at the right time, and this performed beautifully, very much in part to my little girl's facial expressions. Home of the Unknown Soldier. This was a merit collection. I hoped/expected this to do a little better than it did. But now looking at it, I see some things that I could have adjusted and made it more impactful. This might be a topic that I revisit down the road because it is dear to my heart. And there are a lot of details in there that I think might have gotten overlooked by the judges because I didn't highlight them in the right manner. So this is something that you might see a new take on down the road. But it's one that I still love and is still important to me. And yet another one, this is Merit Collection. This was part of the first series of images that I was able to merit in the Master Artist category. And this was a lot of technical correction on my part on angles and lines and that kind of thing. And this is my dad. He modeled for me. I don't think he'd call it modeling, but he's a preacher. I'm a preacher's kid. So I wanted to highlight this in a simple, beautifully lit way. And this might get its own video down the road because there were a lot of seemingly simple setbacks that I had here that maybe should have been easier to fix than they were. So those are the details that I feel set apart an okay image from an incredible image. And sometimes we get so deeply into it that we can't see them ourselves. And I ran into that with conversations with our ancestors. I've run into that a lot. I think we all do. And this was one where I had a lot of learned lessons, and it also performed well. So sometimes you win and you learn. I'll Fly Away is another child of mine. I have 6, so we don't run out of kid models here. But she's our little ballerina, and I started actually with this image. I started with the title first, and I wanted to do something with a beautiful light soft tulle, and this is it's pretty heavily composited because she was only 6 when we shot this, so she was not on point yet, but she performed beautifully, and her facial expressions are tremendous, as you can see. So that is another one that's from this past year. It did make it into the Imaging Excellence Collection, previously known as the Loan Collection. And here's another child of mine. Sometimes it's easier to just use the kids right here in your own house when you have an idea for an image. And they're also special to me because I'm their mama. This was based on the hymn where I first saw the light at the cross where I first saw the light. This made it into the Merit collection. This was actually a redo from the same idea that I had last year that for a case filler and ended up doing better than expected. And I liked the idea and I felt like I hadn't done it justice before, so we redid it and we improved. And this one's going to be printed big along with several others from this year because it means so much to me. Did not make Imaging Excellence collection. This year I was a gold medalist, which is pretty cool. I've only been a medalist one other time, and that was bronze. So I leveled up. And of my all four of my photographic open images were welcomed into the Merit collection. And then two of those were into the Loan/Imaging Excellence collection. It's going to take me a while to not call it the Loan collection because I'm so used to it, and I know we all are. And then two did not, but it was very exciting for that. And then in my Master Artist category, I had two Merit and one went into the Imaging Excellence. I'm much newer to the Master Artist category, and that's really where I'm focusing in right now. So I think taking that pressure off of the photographic open made it a little bit easier. And here is another. This was from last year. This was, we were just kind of playing around in the studio, hanging her upside down, and she loves Alice in Wonderland. So we incorporated that. And yes, you guessed right, this is another one of my kids. This, however, is not one of my kids. This, it is a composite image, but that baby is a sibling to that dog, who, by the way, was 9 months old in this picture. Absolutely enormous puppy and sweet as can be. And they were truly both babies to the same family and deeply, deeply loved. However, we did not balance the baby on the dog. As well behaved and as a good boy as he was, or she, I don't remember. I think it was a she. We composited these images together just to be sure. And even the bacon, the treat that they were using was replaced with the bacon. And this is one of, I don't usually do lighthearted images. I tend to use my artwork, my competition work as kind of my art therapy. So I don't do a lot of silly work. I like to kind of work through whatever is going on in my head and have serious matters, because a lot of my day-to-day work is more fun and light, and it's babies and twirling and dressing up and fun stuff. So I kind of tap into that other part of my brain for competition. As it turns out, 7 Scoop Itch and Baby Bacon, Baby Bacon, Baby Bacon are indications that I could do pretty well if I step out of my comfort zone once in a while. So that's what I did here, and this was a client image. I do occasionally use client images if there's not something super specific that I'm trying to create, or if what I'm trying to create matches with a client that I have. I'll see if they'll be game to come on in, and I have the best clients in the world, and very often they will take me up on that. So it's a pretty good situation for everybody here. There's more Portrait Masters. I've gotten 2 silvers, one in 2019 and one in 2017. The rest have been bronze. This was part of the Merit collection. This was when I was a bronze medalist. This was part of my case. And there she is again, one of my little girls. This is Vision of the Future. This was not in the Loan collection. However, it did Merit. And this is another one that's just simple. Just nice and simple and not overthought. My Brother's Keeper. This is from last year. No, it's from, it says 2020. It's in January when the exhibition is. So the competition took place in 2019. And these two and their precious facial expressions are just a dream to work with. And they came in to help me out with this. I didn't plan, I didn't make the baby cry on purpose. And I definitely didn't tell her to make that face. It just, this is how it went down. And it was perfect. And as soon as I snapped that shutter closed, I knew that was going to be a keeper. And that's one that they can put in his graduation montage someday. Sweet Hour of Prayer is another one that just highlights simplicity, and the light coming through the back of her dress, her little cheeks lit up, her face looking up. I wanted to do something with this title in memory of my mom. My dad sang this song to her as she passed, and I wanted to memorialize that moment that was so precious. So this is my youngest, and I was picturing with this song, with this hymn, with what the moment that I had in mind behind it, a solemn, prayerful moment. And when she came into my studio and I was trying to get my 3-year-old to have a prayerful, solemn moment, she danced. She clasped her hands together and danced. And I actually think this is genius of her and absolutely perfect. And it worked out beautifully and was exactly what it needed to be. So this is one of them that I did a digital painting of, and then we created a hybrid oil digital painting combo, which is pretty cool, offering at my studio, and then I have it as a sample of. So that's one that I knew I was gonna keep on the wall for a while. Yet another of my babies, the dancer, again, Blush and Bashful, and that is, I could not come up with a better title. Any given competition, you'll see 1,000 with that same title. I wish I had a better one. But I mean, what can you do? Sometimes that's what works best. I still love the image, and it was welcomed into the Merit Collection in 2020. That same year that I was a bronze medalist. It performed pretty well at the Portrait Masters competition. This goes way back. This was shot in 2016. This is when I just started getting into competition, and I just started figuring out what was going to work for competition, what was going to work for the judges, for me, what I wanted to create, how to tell a story. I tell this story a lot in my when I'm speaking on marketing or business. I was an art major in college, and when it was time to enter our student show, I titled everything Untitled 1 through 14 or whatever. My professor was like, "What are you doing? Give them titles." And I felt self-conscious and it felt contrived and I didn't want to do it. And I look at that now, that's an element that we can use to create the narrative. So to be able to title something is huge. It's awesome. I want to title every image that I give to clients, and sometimes I do. If there's one that's just screaming a story to me, I will give it a title and put it in a digital frame and show them the possibilities, because that's artwork. That's taking a memory for their family and creating artwork with it, and that's really special. And this was around that era where I was comfortable enough in my business and I was comfortable enough in my artwork that I started to tell those stories, to be confident in my work, to be able to share that with my clients and with my viewers or the judges or whoever I was sharing it with. This is from that same era. This was shot in 2016. Amelia's Not Sure. And another back to simplicity. This almost went lone, and I was on the edge of my seat watching judging, and they busted me for this little clone flip action that I had going on back here. So lesson learned there. I did win in this, and to a certain extent, but I definitely learned, because those judges are on it, and you have to be too as a creator. This is the very first image of mine that, is this it? I think this is it. I think this is the very first image of mine that ever merited. It was shot in 2016, and I see a lot of things right now looking at it that I feel like need to be corrected. But, I've learned a lot in those however many years. um, but I see a big change from where I was there and where I am now. And I know I'm going to see a change going forward. And these images that I'm so crazy about right now, that I'm so in love with, I'm going to move past. They're going to hold a special place for me, but I'm going to see technicalities that need to be improved on. So I love them and I appreciate them, and then I grow from them. And then one more, the artist's daughter. I see a ton of things with this that could be different, that could be better. But this was a part of the year. This case was created the year that my mother was sick and passed, and I was working a lot of stuff out. And the idea I love still, so I may revisit this down the road. And it's just one of those things that I don't feel like I highlighted enough what I was intending to for the judges. I want to make it really easy for them. And by the same token, I want to make it easy for you to follow me here on Twitch, to subscribe to me on YouTube, to follow me on Instagram. And we will get artistry going. We will get your business rolling. Everybody wants to wait till the new year. No better time than to start right now. So follow me on Twitch with your brand new Twitch account. Subscribe to me on YouTube. Make sure you're set up to get notifications. Follow me on Instagram. Let me know what you want to see. What's most important to you on these videos? Are you just getting your business off the ground? Do you feel like you've come to a stalemate and you can't get your business to the next level? Because we'll be marketing, business, photography, editing, posing, all of it. And I want to help you get to where you want to be. So thank you so much for being here, either on Twitch or seeing this later on YouTube. And have a great night. Thanks.
That's why you my mommy. Please.